Hi, I hope you're well today. Today I'm talking about the difference between socialising sober and socialising when you have an unhealthy relationship with alcohol, when you're in the throes of your unhealthy drinking patterns. And in order to do that, I'm going to share with you my own personal story. Now, I've decided to do this because I had an experience just a couple of days ago when I went along to a reading group. And I was comparing this experience of going along to this reading group one evening for the first time and with an experience I'd had a few years back when I was in the throes of my unhealthy drinking habits, and I'd gone along to a reading group way back then. And it just sprung to mind how different these two experiences were. And I thought it would be helpful to share that with you because, again, it's about helping to reassure you, helping you to feel that there is light at the end of the tunnel, that life just gets better and better and better when you're living it sober. And to make that comparison between how bad things were then to how good things are now, so that if things are bad for you right now, you know that it's possible for things to get better. So basically what happened was a few years ago, where I was living at the time, I had decided, this was in the middle of all my poor drinking habits, my unhealthy relationship with drink. I was drinking heavily. I was binge drinking. I was rarely having a day without drink. Mostly my binge drinking was, at the time, it was mostly at weekends, but my weekends were getting longer. So I was probably starting it would vary either on a Thursday or a Friday, drinking through the weekend, and then possibly through into the Monday to give myself hair of the dog to help wean myself off it as I got back into the working week. But that was kind of my drinking pattern at the time. But through that, and through those unhealthy drinking patterns, and through my deteriorating levels of confidence and self-esteem, and my increasing levels of anxiety, panic, paranoia, through all of that, I still had this kind of, resilient core of me that wanted to improve my life, wanted to better my life. And one of the things that I thought I could do would be to go out and meet new people, connect with people, socialise with people. And one of the things that I love to do is reading. And one of the things that I was missing in my life at the time was, because I'd done a degree in English literature when I'd gone to university, I really missed that, and I'd taught English at secondary school in an earlier stage in my career. I really missed that kind of discussion of literature and that deeper exploration and analysis of books and reading. And so I thought, I'll join a reading group. And I pushed myself to go out and join this reading group. Now, I remember really vividly that first time I went along to this reading group. I think I perhaps only went once or twice. I went along to this reading group and I had to drive there. So, of course, that drive to this reading group brought up all sorts of issues. I was feeling tense. I was feeling paranoid. I was thinking about drinking. I was feeling kind of anxious and panicky and uptight and self-conscious. And I was thinking about what I was going to drink when I got there, how many I could safely drink in front of this group of people who I didn't know, how much I could drink enough to relax but not too much to make driving home a problem, or to not be too visibly drinking too much in front of other people. All these thoughts racing through my mind as I was driving towards this reading group. Got to the reading group, and again, that sense of self-consciousness, that sense of being uptight. And I think I maybe had 2 small glasses of wine. But of course, as I was drinking the wine and as I was engaging in the conversation, I was just, the only way I can think of describing it is that I was just really tight. I came across as confident, and I had no problem engaging and talking to people, but there was something about me that was wound up and tight. And that was because I was monitoring everything I was doing and saying. I was monitoring the amount I was drinking. I was thinking ahead. My mind was going 9 to the dozen. I was actually, the whole time I was in that conversation, at that reading group, I was thinking about how much I was looking forward to getting home and opening the bottle of wine so I could really drink. So not 100% present at the reading group meeting, not 100% authentically connecting with the people that I was meeting and talking to. And all the time being uptight, tense, thinking about drinking, thinking about how much to drink, how much not to drink, thinking about, not thinking about, but feeling self-conscious and wondering if other people were noticing that I was uptight and had a problem and feeling anxious or drinking too much or whatever. And so I just want to make that comparison to describe that situation back then when I was at that reading group. And I think, like I say, I only went once or twice and then we moved and I moved out of the area, so I didn't go back to that one again. Fast forward a few years to now. 2 days ago, I did exactly the same thing. I'd been looking around online. I was thinking, right, I want to get out and about. I want to connect with local people. I want to get more involved in the local community here. And I found a local reading group. They were meeting a couple of days ago, so I contacted them and I went along. Now, this is the bit that I want to share with you, the difference between that same experience all those years ago and how it was for me this time round. It's just like a completely different experience. It was like I was a completely different person. I drove to the reading group the other night with no anxiety, no nerves, totally relaxed, shoulders down, happy, excited, looking forward to meeting people, wondering what the conversation was going to be like, wondering how academic or not the conversation was going to be. As it turned out, wasn't academic at all, which was kind of a shame because I wanted a bit of that. I wanted a bit of intellectual debate, but however, it wasn't that way. But I drove there completely relaxed, excited, happy, looking forward to it. Got to the pub where we were meeting, met the woman who was organising it, had a conversation with her, and the best way that I can describe this is that I felt totally relaxed, 100% authentically me, and I connected with this woman, had a conversation with her, not thinking about alcohol at all, not giving any time or attention to drinking. Had a conversation with her about the book they were reading. She was telling me about how the group works, what they do, met some of the other women. Ended up there was a group of about 9 or 10 of us sat around the table and they were discussing the book they'd read, which I hadn't. And it was lovely. It was convivial. It was warm. There were lots of amusing anecdotes. We were having a laugh. We were telling amusing stories. I was involved in the conversation. I was authentically connecting with each of the people I was talking to. Drink wasn't a consideration. Nerves weren't a consideration. Anxiety didn't feature at all. It was a completely different experience. It was warm. It was inviting. It was cosy. It was good for my heart and my soul, and it was lovely to be in company and connecting with people on that level. And that just wouldn't have been possible. Well, it wasn't possible back when I was drinking. I approached the exact same situation in a very, very different way. And so I've come away from the reading group this time round with a real warm, fuzzy glow about what a lovely experience it was. And I have my new book. I have a big hardback book to read, ready for the next group in a month's time. So I'm looking forward to getting my head into that. And I'm looking forward to reconnecting with some of the people around the table as well. So the point of me sharing my mini story with you is to give you hope, to give you motivation, to help you to realise that although it's scary at first when you first stop drinking and you can't imagine being relaxed, being confident enough to be 100% yourself, loving yourself enough to be 100% yourself, that all of this is possible. It just takes time and it just takes practice. And when you're committed to it, and when you have your eye on the goal, you'll have your eye on what it's going to be like for you when you're successfully sober. When you have your eye on that and you're looking at all of the benefits, all of the gains to you, it's much, much easier to do it. And that's another of the reasons that I'm sharing these stories with you, is because if I can give you even just a tiny element of that sense of what it's like when you're successful, that you can hold on to and keep for yourself, keep that in mind, keep a visual picture of it. Imagine how it sounds, what it's going to feel like when you're able to do all these things successfully sober, when life's a breeze, when you're 100% yourself. If I can give you just a little sort of hint or snapshot of that, that helps you to feel motivated and to feel inspired, then that's fantastic. That's what I want to be doing. And that's why I'm sharing this with you now, to give you that little bit of hope, little bit of reassurance, light at the end of the tunnel. If you want more tips, inspiration, motivation and encouragement to live life happily and healthily sober, you can subscribe to my channel. I'll look forward to catching up with you very soon, but in the meantime, let's go get sober together.